Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. You're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Expert Spotlight Show. WBTVN is the all-women's internet television station with content that is created by women and for women, and I'm your host, Shea Vaughn. WGLA is really happy to be here today with our expert, and I want to tell you just a little bit about him. Dave Daley is the straight-talking authority on leadership, personal development, and breaking through fear barriers. So help me welcome to the show. Dave, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Well, I'm really excited about talking with you because I know that you do a lot of motivational, inspirational talking, helping to change the lives of, I'm sure, yourself and so many other people. So tell me a little bit about yourself. How did this all become what, as a child growing up, what was your childhood like, that kind of thing?
Okay, are you ready? Because you're gonna have to buckle up.
I'm buckling up right now. I'm buckled up and ready to go.
Atta girl. So, I've been an entrepreneur my whole adult life. I've been fortunate enough to have built and sold 3 companies in 3 different industries over the last 20 years, but it sure didn't start out that way. It was not smelling like roses, as they say. I was left back in the 2nd grade, was diagnosed with ADD, told me I had a learning disorder, never graduated high school, and at 19, I'm sitting in a jail cell looking at 8 to 10 years if things don't go my way. So to say it was a little rough road in the beginning.
Now, wait a second. That's a lot to take in.
Well, that was the journey.
I'm sitting here also saying to myself, wow, look at how you have turned your life around. And those experiences had to be something that you made a decision that I want something better for my life. I want to make a difference, and I can turn this around, and I can not only do that, but I can help other people because through your story that you're telling me, it's just amazing. So you were diagnosed with a learning disability, not dyslexia?
I was diagnosed on their terms. That was their terms. Listen, here's the bottom line is why I'm able to say it so convincingly is because I learned looking back that I really had the entrepreneurial DNA. That's who I am. When you look at successful entrepreneurs, we don't fit into a category. Don't put us in a box because we're going to crush that box. Don't tell us what to do, when to do, how to do it. That's not our world. So because I couldn't learn in that.
Can I just say amen to that? Because I so totally agree with what.
Oh, listen, we'll knuckle that up, girl. We'll knuckle that up.
Knuckle it for sure. Absolutely. Because entrepreneurs, and the reason that we're so good at what we do is that we're outside of that box.
Right.
We don't want somebody to tell us how we should do it. We've got, a different vision for what we want to do and what we want to create.
Yeah, and let me add something else. I'm very, 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 very grateful that I grew up in the time before all the drugs, before all the prescription drugs, and my mom never bought into it, thank God, right? At the end of the day, my outlet was sports. I loved doing things that were physical. That was my outlet. That was my world. And it still is today. I train every single day. The gym is my iron therapy. That's where I get my best thoughts. My alarm goes off at 4:30 every morning, 7 days a week. It's my world, right?
You and we should call each other because I'm in the gym at 5 o'clock every morning.
Girl. Love it.
Every single morning. I was there this morning.
Love it.
I did my own workout and whatever, and then I went and taught a spin class for over
Love it. Love it.
And then I'll do that again at 5 o'clock today.
Respect.
So I get that. We're just kind of built, that it says, my background actually is in dance and sports.
Okay.
And it gave me such discipline to know that I needed to show up. I had to learn the routines. I had to be a team player. So, and sports-wise, I love sports. I've trained a lot of athletes and so I get it. I know how we're wired because I'm wired like that.
And I'd love to go deeper on that and give even more value. See, so many people were out there saying, okay, great. You made it to this, or you're doing this and you love dance and it really helped me and that's your outlet. Let's go deeper, right? Because people are going to know, okay, that's great, but why and how? So not only did the dance give you that outlet, release those endorphins, but it fed you in a whole nother way, the creativity. See, we're entrepreneurs. If we're not creative, we're suffocating. We're suffocating if we're not creative.
Dave, I came out doing flip-flops.
I know.
Having the passion and love for movement and creativity. And I would make my little own, routines up and whatever. Yeah, I mean, even in fashion, I loved it.
It takes me 2 seconds to look at you and I know creativity is your oxygen.
It is.
It's your oxygen. I see it in your eyes. Same with me. When I look at you, it's a mirror, right? It's a mirror. It's the same thing. But here's where it's two things. It's a tragedy in the public school systems. Now, things could have changed. I don't know. I doubt it. But to just judge and test people in one criteria, one way, is such a disservice. And it's so inaccurate, right?
Well, not only is it inaccurate, it's more than that. It's labeling someone to think something about themselves that's just not really true. And
exactly.
Those are the barriers that hold us back because we're constantly, I love to please someone. I want to, I want people to like me. I want to help them to like other people too. So what happens in those kinds of situations is that we tend to change who we are in order to fit in to what they think we should be.
Okay. So 2 things I want to go so deep on.
Okay,
now,
let's go.
You talked about I talk about fear barriers. That's one of the things I speak about. My book is Knock Out Fear in the First Round.
I was going to ask you about that. Hold that up again.
No, it's okay. It's all about, and what I realized, what I've learned over the years is there's so many different types of fears. There's so many different types of fear barriers. But here's what I've learned. They all map to 2 fear barriers.
Okay.
And they are the fear of change and the fear of what other people think. And here's what I'm going to do. Right now, this second, I'm going to take everybody, including you, off the hook. Are you ready?
I love it. I love to be off the hook.
Everything is based upon intention. If your intention is pure, you're bulletproof. So here's what I say. I am not always the politically correct guy. I am not always the G-rated guy when I put my content out there. But what I am is the real world guy. So here's what I say. If a word that I use or a sentence that I use offends you, but my intention is pure, that's on you. You need to figure out why that word offends you so much, because my intention is to give you the real stuff without the smoke and mirrors. No pink elephants, no pink clouds, and no Easter bunny. This is the real world. And if that word offends you or that sentence offends you, that's on you, because my intention's pure.
Yeah. Intention is everything.
Oh my God.
It really is. And so I can so connect with you about that, because I think sometimes I find myself, I want to say the right thing because I care so much. Let me tell you, when I am speaking or putting one of my programs together or trying to help somebody to turn their life around or whatever, my problem is that I care more than they do. I care more than they do.
Yes.
I work harder than they do.
Yes.
And so the thing of it is that I've learned, what I've had to learn to do is I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to care no matter what. But I need to get them to step up and accept the responsibility that me or anybody else can't really do it for them. They have to do it for themselves. They've got to really be able to reach down and want it bad enough that they're willing to push through those barriers that are holding them back. And most of the time is actually can be the fear of success itself, or, you know, I've worked so hard and I felt so safe in this area that I'm at. What's it going to really feel like when I really do break through that? Procrastination, you know, is a huge thing. And we just give ourselves excuses about why we can't.
No question. I think the other thing too, well, I know the other thing is, look, you have to identify your why. And when your why becomes big enough, it's going to pull you through those fear barriers. It's going to pull you through life's test. And and I always say, when your why becomes bigger than you become unstoppable.
Exactly.
You become unstoppable. And here's the other thing too, is when I speak at corporations and I speak at workshops, the first thing I say is, at the end of the day, I don't make the rules. You don't make the rules. Life makes the rules. And life says, if you're not willing to earn it, you don't deserve it.
Exactly. You have to earn, you know, everything. I wrote a book, and I wasn't going to bring it up, but because we're talking about this, I think it's so appropriate.
Yeah.
I wrote a book called The Breakthrough, and it really talks about defeating stress, feeling great about yourself, and finding well-being. And part of that is taking 5 principles of wellness and applying them to everything that you do, every decision that you have to make, because, you know, we all need tools. And we forget that the words out there can be the greatest tools that we have. So they're commitment, perseverance, self-control, integrity, and love. And commitment, the crazy thing about this is that we don't get through the pushing through it, the perseverance of it, and we fail at it. Why? Because we're not really committed. That's why, you know, New Year's resolution comes around. More than 94% of New Year's resolutions are based upon losing weight. And they keep making the same New Year's resolution every single year. And 3 weeks later into it, it's forgotten. We're going to wait till next year and do the same thing. Why? Because they're not committed. I often say, you know what, if you haven't signed a contract with yourself, if you were getting a mortgage on your house and you signed it, you'd find a way to pay that. You do everything that you possibly can, or a car payment, whatever it happens to be. If you got to go pick up your kids, you got 20 million things that you have to do. Guess what? We're going to be there to pick up our kids. Why do we not treat ourselves as important as we do everything else?
Well, you know, it goes back to the commitment, and it also goes back to, you have to be willing. If you want change, you have to make change, right? Yes. Whether that's your environment, whether that's your life, whether that's your business, whatever that is, if you want change, you have to make change. And again, what I found is those 2 fear barriers, everything maps down to them, one or the other. The fear of change, and I always say this too when I speak to corporations. Change, again, life makes the rules. So you know what? Evolution says, we don't care if you agree. We don't care if you're ready. This train's leaving with or without you. And if you don't jump on, the train is going to run you over. And I speak on this to corporations because guess what? If you're not on the cutting edge of your industry, if you're not willing to understand the change in your industry, we're doing one of 2 things. We're either moving forward or we're moving backwards. And when we move backwards long enough, we disappear. And I tell people, if you're not sure how intense and real that statement is, just ask Blockbuster Video, ask Kodak Film, ask Border Books. It doesn't matter how big you are, how long you've been around, we're all vulnerable to evolution if we don't move on it. I don't know if you know, but interesting that Blockbuster Video had 2 opportunities to buy Netflix. Their people, their executives came in with their paperwork and said, our data doesn't back this up. It's not going this way.
Isn't that crazy? One person sees it one way.
Look how real, right? Blockbuster Video. Listen, in all the world, the best Hollywood screenwriters couldn't write that me and you would be speaking about Kodak Film not being around. I mean, right?
Exactly.
Right? I mean, so... Yeah, so
you can make a big splash, but you've got to stay on top of where the market's going and understanding. I want to say that because one of the reasons that we're sitting here and talking is because WBTVN, I had the vision for it 5 years ago because I knew where the industry was going and where people were going to be watching TV and changing their lives on really how they spend their time.
Yes.
So here we are. So I want to ask you something else. Yeah. When we first started, here's one of the things I want to say to you. Monster Motivator. That's your name. How did you get, I mean, I can see it, well, but what a great title.
Thank
Monster
you.
Motivator. I mean, what a great title.
Well, it goes back to what we spoke about earlier. When you were talking about when you coach your people, right? What happens is you want it so bad that you wind up wanting it more than they do. And for me, I'm looking in the mirror when I look at you, because when I believe in you and I believe in that thing, I am all in. I am your biggest fan. Let's go. Let's make it happen. Or I'm all out. I'm one or the other. But when I'm in that mode, it is monster mode 1000%. And that's how I live my life, because I speak on fear barriers. And I just had this question asked me on a podcast earlier this week. And I people ask me this a lot because I also have a live stream TV show that we are going to get you on, the Monster Motivator TV.
I would love that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're going to bring the heat, girl. So, they always ask me, you're the fear barrier guy. You're going to teach us. And I tell people, right, fear barriers are the ultimate bully in life. And how do you stop a bully? You step up. And I want to teach you how to get your lunch money back from that bully, because so people say, that's great, but what are you afraid of? What are you fearful of? And here's what I'm terrified of. Completely, utterly terrified every single day. Regret.
Yeah.
I am not leaving.
Yeah.
Whether my ride is over tomorrow or 50 years from now, I am not leaving with anything on the table.
I love to hear you say that, because I write columns for some of the magazines and different things. So, and one of the things that I talk about all the time is regret. It doesn't need to be that way. And part of what I write in my book is having a safe space, because sometimes that safe space is an opportunity to go and say you're sorry when you know that you've done something wrong, but you're fearful of doing that because there's two things that happen. You don't know if the person's going to accept it, or they're just going to scream at you because you shouldn't have done it in the first place. Well, we wouldn't be going there and saying we're sorry if we didn't realize that. We all make mistakes. And so we need a safe space to be able to go and say we're sorry when we really are coming from the heart, and we have a chance to really look back and say, it was really dumb. Or somebody wants to come to us and say that they're sorry, and have we really given them the opportunity to feel safe in coming and saying that to us?
And you know what? I love that. And I would actually love to go a little deeper on the first part that you spoke about, because, again, it goes back to fear barriers, right? And here's how I look at it, and here's how I would suggest somebody look at it is, it goes back to intention. If your intention is pure and you know that you did the wrong thing, or you could have done something different, and you go to apologize, for me, instead of getting all caught up in what they're going to do, how they're going to react, what they're going to say, I can't control that. All I can do is create the freedom for me, because once I put it out there,
right,
let it go. Let them scream and yell, or let them turn around and say thank you. Most of the time, you're going to be surprised that when you come from that pure place, it's going to come back so much nicer than you think, because you're putting it out there. But either way, you just released for you. Don't worry about everybody else. I say this all the time and obviously I don't look, I don't act, I don't sound like the motivational speakers that everyone knows. And here's what I say. What you see is what you get. Opinions are going to be formed either way. Here's my job. I'm just going to make sure they're accurate.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think that one of the things that's really important in life is to really go back in time before life is over with. And if there is a regret out there, I have a definite belief that if something isn't addressed, it's not going to be resolved.
Right.
And whether somebody is not going to accept your apology, or even if you're not wrong at something, but you just want to, you want to build bridges. You don't want to blow them up. Mm-hmm. And even if you just want to go back because you don't want to have the regret that you didn't try to do something, to mend it, to at least, doesn't mean they're going to be your best friend, doesn't mean you're going to talk to them every day. It means that you get to set down those bricks that are heavy in your heart. And those are the things that are most important. So you've got to be able to sit down, look back, think about what some of those regrets are. Maybe you don't have them. That's okay too. But if you do, if it's bothering, if it's anything that keeps coming up in your life that you think about, then it's something that you need to either pick up the phone if it's not possible to go see them in person, send an email. I mean, there's so many ways to connect now, just like we're connecting. Okay? And just, maybe it's not even a sorry. Maybe it's just, you've been on my mind all these years, and I just really wanted to pick up the phone and tell you that, I've been thinking about you. I wish you the best, and I hope everything is good with you. That's really, sometimes that's all that it takes. Wouldn't you like to get that from somebody that maybe, you were good friends at one time or something, and then just something stupid really happens and it really doesn't have a lot of, feet to it or, heat to it. And you just want to kind of mend that.
You're 100% right. And I think also, it goes back to your own level of awareness, right? Whatever you feel, I say this, things happen in your life. Your past happens. Your story isn't about you. Your story is, you made it through to help other people, right? So your story's not about you.
That's always.
You have a decision to make in life. Life says that past is either going to be your anchor or your propeller. What do you want to do?
Exactly.
It's so simple, just not always easy.
It's not easy, and it's okay not to be easy because there's so many lessons breaking through those kinds of things.
Yes.
And I love it when I say something because I know that we're connecting on this. There's so many lessons to be learned by having something difficult for us. If everything was easy, we would have no lessons to learn.
Yeah.
And we're here on this earth to learn these lessons.
Amen.
And to share them and to be able to bring them out in the open. I want to go back again, though, with what you had said from the beginning. Finding yourself, either changing your life and defining for yourself who you are, not letting other people define it for you, which is almost impossible to do. I know people that I went to high school with that are still defined by whatever they were told that they were when they were in high school. Seriously. And the truth of the matter is they're not that same person anymore. And here's the thing that's most important to me. We need to allow people to change and accept that change and see it and acknowledge it. Because we don't think that people are going to change that easily, we still see them in the same way. We need to give them that opportunity and to acknowledge and to congratulate them on the changes that they've made, because they've become amazing people and they're helping other people. That's important.
Yeah, and I agree 100%, but I also completely back the idea, the notion of, listen, this is your journey. You need to take 100% responsibility. So if you're not agreeing on that label that's given to you, you need to figure out how to change that label for yourself. Let everyone else decide what they want to do, because whatever label I put on you shouldn't change who you are, shouldn't change your direction. And if it is, then that's you. You need to take responsibility for your own life and figure out how to make it better for you. And if we can go back to school, right? I think it's a complete and utter tragedy that personal development is not taught from day one in school, because that's real. That's life.
Right.
This is life.
And how to respect others and to be kind to them and find something in common. There's always something there. You're not going to be mirrors all the time. You're not going to love everything about someone. That's why I always say water seeks its own level.
Yeah.
you're moving around and you've got to make new friends or whatever, water will seek its own level. But
Right.
that doesn't mean that other people don't come into your life that you can't love. They're just not going to be somebody that on a day-to-day basis you're going to be communicating with. That's okay.
Absolutely. That's
okay.
That's life 101. And when I said everything maps to the 2 fear barriers, here's the other thing. Everything that I speak on, everything that I believe on, everything that I've lived, all maps to one thing. It all maps to your self-image. See, you could build your self-image up, you could tear it down, but you cannot outperform it.
Right.
You could build it up, you could tear it down, but you cannot outperform it, meaning those people, like you were talking about, they allow those labels to stay with them. But the key word is they allow, right? They allow. So the reason they allow that is because their self-image is not strong enough to not allow it. But the only way that self-image is going to be built up is they have to put the work in themselves. Personal development is the exact same thing as physical development. You can't go to the gym once a month, eat clean once a month, and think that you're going to be in shape. It just doesn't happen, right? Personal development is not reading one chapter in a book and thinking your life is going to change. That's just not wrong. And I say this a lot in my talks is if anybody in the personal development world, self-help world, self-help niche says they created something new, run. Don't look back. This goes back to antiquity. This goes back to the beginning of time. This is the same information that was taught thousands of years ago. It's just my flavor.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly. And maybe you put a twist to it or added,
My flavor. Right.
Your own flavor. Exactly.
Right. I mean, so it's out there. Are you willing to put the time in? Are you willing to put the work in? And if you're not, then don't bitch and moan and complain.
Right.
Your reality is who you are. And that's truly what I believe and how I live my life. And some people resonate with it. Some people don't. Either way, it's okay because it's real.
Yeah. Give me, one, if you could say one thing to someone, because I know that you talk about change a lot. Mm-hmm. But if you had advice, because we've really talked about a lot of that advice that you've given. Mm-hmm. What would be the one thing that you would really say that somebody, needs to really do?
Oh, it's you got to work. Self-image is everything. Self-image is the foundation. And I also say the greatest gift that an adult, a parent, a guardian can give a child is a strong self-image, because your self-image dictates everything that you do or everything that you don't do. Everything. Did I say everything?
I think everything I think you did say a few times.
Okay. Is completely predicated on your self-image. But the great thing about your self-image is you don't have to stay where you are if you don't like those results. You just need to work on that self-image, build that self-image up, and move forward, right? Or you don't. Either way, what I love about life is results don't lie.
They don't.
Reality doesn't lie. That's the ultimate barometer.
Exactly.
That's the ultimate barometer.
What was the key point in your life that turned your life around, that you finally took on all the things that you're talking about? Maybe not knowing that you're doing it at that time, because that's a journey. I get that. But looking back now, what was that moment when you said enough is enough?
Well, there were 3 key moments in my life. First, and I speak on this on my keynotes, a gentleman by the name of Tommy came into my life and showed me that there was so much more out there, because he walked the walk before me. We were so parallel and identical in he never graduated high school. He was a kid from the neighborhood that wasn't supposed to make it, and he built this tremendous business, right? So I took the action, we connected, and I saw that it was doable. He gave me a belief, right? Because I could literally see it. Then the other aha moment was I was at the point in my first business where I wanted to sell, but I was too afraid. What am I going to do? What else can I do? Right? And I had a motorcycle accident, and I was in intensive care for a few days. Almost, I could have been paralyzed or dead. And that made me realize that tomorrow's not guaranteed. And when life gave me that lesson, I never looked back,
Right.
since then. And the third was going through my divorce. Our counselor was a very, very spiritual lady. And at that time, I'm a kid from Jersey, right? I grew up and when she started talking about the universe, I know, you probably think I'm from Encinitas, but nobody buys that. So she started sharing with me the spiritual world and the universe. And at first I'm looking at her like she has three heads. I'm going, what? I go, what? After a while, I just started, I couldn't get enough. So I would ask her, I go, Renee, so what about? And then finally she says, she goes, I'll tell you what. She goes, here's what I want you to do. She goes, I want you to go into Barnes & Noble. I want you, the book is going to pick you. That's what she said to me. I go, what? She goes, the book is going to pick you, right? But at that time, it's crazy to me, but she hasn't led me wrong yet. I go, all right. I mean, this is craziness. So I walk into our Barnes & Noble. At that time, it was a big Barnes & Noble. Now, understand, I've been in there plenty of times, but I always made a right-hand turn instead of a left-hand turn because they were the magazines. More pictures, less words, right? Bodybuilding, boxing, MMA, that was my world. So I walk into Barnes & Noble, and I'm looking around. I go, there's a whole nother section to this store. So I see this kid walking up, and I said, is there like a self-help? Something personal? He goes, oh, we have 3 aisles of it. I go, really? He says, yeah. I start walking down the aisle, looking at books, nothing. Second aisle, I'm looking at nothing. Third aisle, I'm halfway down, and I see this book. And it says Dare to Win by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. So I picked the book up. It was 130 pages, big, bold words, very easy to read, right? I start reading this book in the aisle. I look up, I'm halfway done the book. Now understand, at this point, I probably read 2 books in my life, right? I look up, I'm halfway through and I go, I gotta buy this book. I buy the book, I get in my truck, I read the book, I finished the book before I left the parking lot, and that book was my Bible for 3 years. I highlighted, underlined it. Everything. It was my Bible. I kept it with me everywhere. Dare to Win by Jack Canfield. So I had some aha moments that changed my life for sure. And
I can tell that. That's fabulous though. And it's so great for you to be able to share that with us today. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on the show and sharing your story.
Thank you.
And being that monster motivator, because I see it with, with your heart. I see it with your eyes. I see it with your being. And I thank you for that. I just want to say to the audience that's watching us today that if you would like to have an interview on the show, please complete the form that is on our website at www.wbtn.tv. Again, thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you the next time.